Hey, I think I got the recording started. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's just recording
Okay.
started. Fantastic. Okay, well, good morning. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your time coming to our meeting. We're meeting today in regards to the ESG CoC Rapid Rehousing Program. I know that all that alphabet soup doesn't necessarily mean anything to what you're dealing with, but this is rapid rehousing. And so you guys have been involved in our program and housed through this program for different periods of time. Some of you guys have been in very shortly. Some of you may not even have been housed yet at all. But we are here to talk about some major changes that are coming to the program. And so I'm going to go over what the purpose of the program is, what the changes are happening, the new system that we're going to be working on for rental assistance. We're going to be talking about the progress report and what that's going to be looking like, and then talk about what's happening next. And so I'll be putting some stuff up here on the screen in order to be able to try to make this as clear as I can. We do have some more food coming, and so we probably take a quick break so you guys can, who are here for the live, we're going to get some food. I also have some folks here who are calling in. About 7 or 8 clients right now are on the call-in line, and so we'll be liaising that then. And we'll do questions at the end. If you guys have a burning question about what we're talking about right now, for the live folks who are here live, you can go ahead and ask it, and we'll try to see if we can make sure to clarify that. If it's something that I'm going to talk about later, I'll say, hey, hang on, we'll talk about that in a minute. But we'll try to do our best to honor your time very much, okay? All right, we are also attempting to record this session right now as well. And so our plan is to make that available, that video available later in case you want to review that again. But again, I really appreciate y'all's time coming out here today. For all those who came to the live session, we're also going to be handing out bus passes at the end. So you'll get that as an incentive for participating this morning. Thank you for your time. We also just want to introduce to, first of all, some very important people that are here. We have our Director of Rapid Rehousing, Debbie Franklin, is right there. Our Assistant Director of Rapid Rehousing, Alicia Kate, is right here. She's over the issues, the ESG program. And then we have our awesome frontline case management housing navigation team, Housing Navigator, Catherine Green, right here. Help you find a place, get off the streets. We got Elisa Wilson right here, one of our case managers. Let's see, Adalji Zoga over there, one of our case managers. Timothy Martin right there in the very back, one of our newest. And Taylor Bollinger over here. And yeah. So we wanted everybody to be in the room today, just so that we can be really, really, really clear. We wanted all of our team to see the words that are coming out of my mouth, for you guys to hear that as well, so that when we have future conversations about this, we're all on the same page about how it's working, okay? So I'm going to try to make sure that it's clear for the video as much as I can. But I wanted to start off by talking about what is the purpose of rapid rehousing. When I do a class in the shelter called The Real Deal on Housing. We talk about 9 different types of housing that's available in the community, and rapid rehousing is one of those 9 types. But I want to let you know what the purpose of the program is. First of all, first and foremost, is to get people off the streets. All right, get people out of emergency shelters, out of the streets, and into a home. Our goal is to get people moved out within 30 days. As a community, we're doing it a little slower than that, but we're trying to do it as fast as we can. That's the goal, to get people off the streets. And then after we accomplish that goal, getting folks off the streets, then our goal switches to from getting people off the streets to getting the streets off of people. All right. And the idea is we're trying to help people to be stably housed, permanently housed within 12 months of moving into that unit. And as you guys know, that is no easy task. Rent is really expensive right now. It is not getting any cheaper. There's a whole lot, the resources for permanent housing. Someone was just asking me earlier, well, what's about permanent housing? I'm like, man, it's tough. The waiting times for permanent housing are insanely long, usually longer than being in rapid rehousing programming. So in rapid rehousing, we cannot guarantee that someone is going to receive any kind of like voucher or permanent housing, rental assistance, or anything like that. We can't guarantee that. And that's why the messaging that we brought across, and hopefully you guys have heard this already. If not, then listen close today. what I say in our real deal on housing class, and I even have our clients repeat this after me. I say rapid rehousing is a jobs and roommates program. Rapid rehousing is a jobs and roommates program. Rapid rehousing is a jobs and roommates program. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Yeah. So the deal, and the reason why I say that is because rent's just crazy expensive, and vouchers are not really a thing that are being handed out, very liberally. Certainly not to the amount of people that are in the program. And so what we're saying is people can come into rapid rehousing without a job and without a roommate. But I don't know how people can successfully exit the program to permanent housing without a job, a roommate, or both. There really is no guarantee. And so our goal is that people will move into rapid rehousing and never come back to the shelter ever again. But unfortunately, guys, we've seen it where so many people, they go into either our program or other programs in the community. They go to rapid rehousing. They're there for, a month or a year or however long. And then at the end of that time, they can't afford rent and they're evicted and they're back in the shelter again. That is so tragic. And I don't want that to happen to you. Okay. I don't want it to happen to anyone on the phone here, anyone in our programs. We want everyone to be able to leave this program and be able to be permanently housed. The best way to do that is jobs and roommates. The reason why I say that is if you think about, sorry, this is popping up here. All right, if you think about how much rent costs, our rents right now, like I think our average rent, I didn't look at this morning, I should have, but like our average rent right now is something like $1,000 to $1,100 a month. And so in order to really make that affordable without permanent housing assistance, which there's not a lot of that around, then you need to be making something like $3,000 a month. There is no disability program that I know of that can get people $3,000 a month to be able to pay rent. Most disability is like $900, $1,000 a month, right? Not enough to pay rent. And so that means is that folks with limited income need to be able to split that assistance, need to be able to split that rent rather. My water get good. Need to be able to split that rent with a roommate. Okay, so that's what our goal is going to be talking to you every single month. What's your exit plan? Are you working on getting a job or increasing your income? Let's help you to find a roommate. And I want to make sure to be that clear about that because that plays into what we're going to be trying to do with the changes in our program services and our program's rental assistance model. Okay, rapid rehousing programs. There's a lot of different rapid rehousing programs in Dallas and all over the nation, but all of them have 3 different things that are a part of them. They have housing navigation. That's assistance in finding a unit to move into out of the streets. They have rental assistance. So that means helping people to pay rent for a period of time. And they have case management. They have professionals who are coming into someone's home and helping them to get stable and to keep the housing that they just got. All right. What we're talking about is the major changes that are happening today to rental assistance and case management. Those are the 2 pieces that we're talking about today. The big one that I know that most people are going to be really interested in, we want to make sure it's very, very clear, is the rental assistance part. Okay, what's going to be changing with that? So you can see in your packet on the front there, we've had some changes in the rental assistance part of our program. Okay, when we started rapid rehousing in 2020, we started off and rent was determined every single month by the case manager. The case manager had a blank and they said, here's how much rent the client is paying. And they were to do that based upon how the client was doing, what was going to be a challenging portion of rent. That didn't work out too well, so we moved on and tried something else. And we moved in 2021 to a model where we paid rent in full for 6 months in the program, and then the client paid a portion of their rent for 6 months for the next 6 months of the program, okay? And the rules sheet that you guys all signed when you came in the program basically says that. Okay, that didn't change. Now, what happened in 2023 is we ran into a situation where we actually had more money that we needed to spend out of the program. And so we moved to a full rental assistance model. So we've been paying full rents for everybody in the program. That is now going to change. Okay, as of April, that is going to change. So what we're doing in 2024 right now is we're trying to take a combination of the best of everything that we have done and do something new. What that is going to be. So number one, we are going to be retaining the current rental calculation system. You guys have been filling out a monthly progress report with your case manager every month in the program. And inside of that progress report, I'm going to show an example up here in a minute, but inside of that progress report, it calculates how much we're saying that you can afford in rent. Okay? The way that we do that is we look at everybody's income, their gross income. That means before taxes are taken out. Okay? We look at the gross income. We take out, subtract documented critical expenses. And that means we're going to go over what those are, but that means things that you need to stay alive, housed, and out of jail. Okay? Because here's the deal. If I'm charging you rent and rent is so high that you can't eat, and God forbid you pass away or end up in the hospital, well, what was the point of me paying your rent to keep you out of homelessness if you die? That's not cool. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure your well-being, your physical well-being is secured. We want to make sure you're healthy. And so we want to make sure that you have enough space to pay for the things you need in order to stay healthy. And then number two, we want to make sure that you stay housed. Because goodness, if we charge you so much rent that you can't pay your utilities, well, now your lights get cut off and you get threatened with eviction for your lights being cut off. Okay, so there's no point in that either. So we want to make sure you're able to stay housed. And then last of all, we want to make sure you're able to stay out of jail. So if there are like probation fees or parole fees or child support fees or things like that, that are some legal fees that have to be paid, we are actually, as far as I know, we're the only rapid rehousing program in our city that actually takes those into account when we're calculating rent, because those are very real and sometimes very, very large expenses. Okay, so we take your income, we take out the things that you need that aren't free to stay alive, housed, and out of jail. Okay, and then whatever is left over is your disposable income, is the income that you've got left to do what you need to do with. And we're saying 70% of what's left over is what you can pay toward rent. All right? We'll go over again an example of what that looks like. But that whatever's left over, that usually ends up coming out to somewhere between 35 to 50% of someone's overall income. Generally, that's what that comes out to. The reason why it's so high, right? The reason why is because we want to prepare you guys for living out in the world after the program is over. And the reality is a lot of people are paying more than 30% of their income in rent. And we want to prepare you guys for that world, because what is so terrible, and I think our team could attest to this, what's so terrible is we get up to month 10 or 11 and someone is freaking out because they're like, I'm about to move out on my own and I can't afford this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. We want you to leave this program confident and feeling like I can do this. And the way I know I can do this is I've been doing it. We want you to get the habit together of paying challenging portions of rent so that your lifestyle is set up to keep you housed when you're done. No drama. I don't want any drama for you. All right? No drama, no stress. We're going to reduce that as much as possible. And the way to do that is set up new habits. What we're also doing in this system is, so we're going back to charging that amount toward rent, but what we're also doing in this system, and I'm really excited about this, is that we're setting up an incentive and a reward for clients who fully participate in the program. We have lots of services that are available through this program, but not all of our clients really take advantage of that. When I say rapid rehousing is a jobs and roommates program, to be honest, I think a lot of our folks don't necessarily take that very seriously, because they're living in an apartment by themselves. They're like, well, I don't want to get a roommate. I don't want to do that. Or like, I don't know if I can work. And so there's this sense of anxiety and tension in the middle of that. And so we want the program to be able to incentivize that for people. So what we're going to be doing is providing additional rental assistance to people who fully participate in the program. If you participate in making a jobs and roommates program, if you do the things that you need to do to keep yourself stable, then we will step in and help you. We're going to meet you in between. If you're doing kind of the minimum and you're really not doing a whole lot, you're not really making a lot of change, then we're not going to do a whole lot either. Okay, we're going to do the minimum that it's going to take to keep you housed. If you're doing the minimum, we'll do the minimum. You do the maximum, we're going to do the maximum. Okay, we're going to meet you where you are. All right, that's the idea here. So I'm going to show you what that looks like by walking through a progress report. So I actually need to pull that up. I should have it pulled up already. I'm going to do that right now. All right. So this is a picture of what your case manager fills out every month with you. You guys already know this, but I'll say it again. If you don't fill this out, rent doesn't get paid. This is the ticket to rent getting paid. So you do have to fill this out with your case manager every single month, or we cannot process the rent payment. And so you guys are definitely doing it. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. So what they're going to do is they fill out some basic information about you. And a lot of this kind of auto calculates and auto populates. There's a program in here. I did a lot of fancy stuff, and it can auto populate anything. We're looking at where are you at in the program, when are we seeing you, where do you live, when is your lease ending. It's going to talk about where you're at in the program, what's going on there. And then we calculate your financial responsibility. And the purpose of this is to say, hey, if the program ended today, all the money disappeared. If the program ended today, could you stay housed without us? And so we're gonna determine that, okay? And so what we do is we look at your income, look at employment, we look at food stamps, we look at unemployment, we look at disability payments, pension, retirement. If you're getting money from family or friends, or other ways that money is coming into the household, okay? And so if you're like binning or bottle collecting or scrapping or any of that kind of stuff, we want to know about that too, to say like, hey, what money is coming into the household so we can figure out how can you keep this housing going even if we disappeared? Because the reality is, guys, rapid rehousing is not permanent. We are going to disappear. The program will come to an end. And so we want to get you ready for that by preparing right now. All right. So we're going to look at the overall income, and we're verifying this. If you have a job, we're verifying it with pay stubs, or we're verifying it with bank statements. I know recently we may not have been doing that as much, but that's the purpose of part of our upgrade here, is that we need to see your savings. We need to see what's actually coming into the household. If you have disability, we don't need a new award letter every month, but we need to see the bank and show that, hey, this is being deposited, like you're actually getting this money. All right. So we're gonna look at that income and put that income together. Then we're gonna look at your savings. We're gonna look at that bank statement. We want to see an itemized bank statement. That means I don't want to just look at your balance. We want to see, okay, what are all the charges that are going in there? And there's a reason for that. One, we're accountable to verify that what you're saying here is your actual income. We're accountable for that to the federal government. But number two, and this is honestly to me even more important than that, is we want to help you figure out how to manage your money so that you can stay housed. Because when we've done these bank statements before, I remember I had a client who was making a lot of money. They were doing actually really, really well. It was actually a couple, and they both had jobs. They were doing great, but they're like, I can't get off rental assistance. I can't get off the program. And we're like, are you kidding me? You have so much money. What's going on? And we pulled up their bank statement. It turns out they were eating Uber Eats 3 meals a day, every single day. That is expensive, right? And so we're saying, hey, if we can teach you how to cook and grocery shop, then you'll be, and so we did, and we spent a month cooking, grocery shopping, and they're off the program, and they have not returned to homelessness. It's been, what, 3 years now, I think, Debbie. They have not returned to homelessness, so they're doing great. So we want to do the same thing. We want to make sure we see what those spending patterns are and what's actually going on. We want the real deal about what's happening in your life so we can help you sustain your housing for real in this program. Then we're going to we looked at income, we looked at your savings. Now we're going to look at critical expenses. Like I said, these are things you need to stay alive, housed, and out of jail. Okay? That's what this is. All right. So what that means too, these are things that are not free that you need to stay alive, housed, and out of jail. So notice here, clothing is not on there. Now, thankfully, all of you are clothed today. So are we. So good job. Okay. So here's the thing, right? Like, do we need clothing to stay out of jail? Yes. Because if you walked around in the world without clothing, you would end up in jail, and the next piece of clothes you wore would be orange. Okay, right? Okay, so we know that. But here's the deal. What our encouragement is, it's like, if you can get it for free, let's get it for free. So our encouragement is, let's go to clothing closets. Let's figure out how we can get some donated stuff, at least for now, while you're working on getting your income. And let's figure out how to do that. Notice cell phone or a phone is not on here. And the reason why is because we can get you connected with Assurance Wireless or LifeLink or any of those things to try to get that free cell phone. So you can have a cell phone, but you don't have to pay for it. So it's not an expense here because you don't have to pay for it. Now, if you choose to pay for a cell phone, that's fine. If you choose to buy clothes, that's fine. However, it's not more important than rent. The reality is, for those who stay housed, the rent eats first. The rent has to eat first. The rent has to eat before your cell phone bill eats. The rent has to eat before your car payment eats. The rent has to eat before everything else, so that we can make sure we're staying housed, okay? And so we're trying to help you guys kind of shift that mindset, because sometimes we lose that when we're on the streets. We lose that memory. We lose that that habit when we're on the streets. Okay, so renter's insurance, because that's mandatory to stay housed in some places. Okay, if you have mandatory renter's insurance, then we're going to include that because you'll get evicted if you don't pay it. Transportation, we're going to cap that at $100 a month because that's how much a monthly DART pass costs. Okay, if you have a car payment, you can have $100 a month toward transportation. Okay, and we'll count that. Everything else is on you. That's your decision to make. Okay, because what you could do if you had to, in order to stay housed, you could go to just using public transportation, paying $100 a month for public transpo, and then we can help you to do that, and you'll be able to pay more of that rent and stay housed. Medication, you might need medication to stay alive, okay? And if you have out-of-pocket costs for medication, as long as you can document that, we'll take that out of the consideration for rent. Basic hygiene items, we're saying $20 per person per month. That was based upon client feedback as to how much we need every month to get basic hygiene items every month. Last of all is legal fees. Again, probation, parole, child support, all that kind of stuff. Document that, we can put that in there. So what we do is we take that income, we subtract the critical expenses, we come up with a number from that. And then we say, okay, 70% of that is going to be how much you can afford toward rent. Okay, that's the amount that's going to come out there. And then what we do is we give you a score every month. We say, okay, whatever it is that you can afford toward rent, and we're going to take that out of what your rent actually is. Okay, so let's say your rent is $1,000 a month. Okay, and let's say that your maximum amount you can afford toward rent is $100 a month. What percentage is 100 out of 1,000? 10%, exactly, right? So that means if the program disappeared today, you could pay 10% of your rent. Uh-oh, that's a problem. That'll show up in red. It's going to say, uh-oh, you're in trouble. Yeah. No, so critical. It's a big problem, because even if you got a roommate, you still can't afford your rent. You still can't afford to stay housed. But let's say the number was 600 instead of 100. $600 is what you can afford toward rent. $1,000 is your actual rent. Now you can afford how much? 60% of that rent, right? And so your score is 60 in that. And now you're in trouble. And we're saying, hey, like, you can't just keep going and afford your rent. But if you got a roommate, you could afford that because it's going to be split in half. You don't have to pay half that rent, right? Okay. Now, if someone gets to the point where, let's say, rent is $1,000 and the maximum amount you can afford toward rent is $1,100. Well, now you're at 110%. At that point, we're looking at graduation. We're saying, hey, all right, great. You can now afford your rent. That's wonderful. Our purpose is then to try to move you out of the program so that I can get someone else off the street and put them into the program. Okay? Now, if you're in your first year of this program, And let's say you have affordability, you got a job, everything's going great, you can afford your rent, we phase you out of the program. If you're still inside of your first year, and let's say you lose that job, then we can swoop back in, we'll re-enroll you, and we'll help you finish out that lease. Okay, that's our goal, is to keep you housed for that year and make sure you got what you need. All right, so we can come in, we can re-help with that. If you're in your research phase, you're in that second year, we can't swoop back in. We're going to help you with outside resources, whatever we can find. We're going to help you with that. But that's the way that works. Okay, we're going to go over an example of this in just a minute. So that's what we do. We give you a score. We say, hey, how much could you afford if the program disappeared? We're going to tell you exactly how much you could afford if the program disappeared. So you'll know what your progress is. You'll know where you're at every single month. You'll know exactly where you stand. And then after that, we're going to be looking at critical issues. Hey, are there things broken in the house? Are there unauthorized occupants that can cause the person to be evicted? Are the smoke detectors working? I want to make sure that if there's a fire, everyone's going to be okay. Is everything in working order? Is everything clean? Are there any lease violations? Like, we're just making sure you're all right. And then we create our plan. We do our plan every month. We say, all right, what's the end goal plan for staying housed? And then what's the action plan? What are you going to do next month in order to help secure your housing? Last of all, this is brand new. And actually, even most of our case managers haven't gone through this yet, so this might change. But I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on a goal attainment system with you. We're going to be setting goals with you through what's called a housing stability plan, setting those goals. We're going to summarize those goals, and we're going to look at every month, hey, are you on track to achieve it, or are you not on track? Are you off track to achieve it? And if you're on track to achieve it, we'll give you that score, and if you're off track, we'll give you a different score. And then we're also going to be looking at, have you been accessing support? Have you been working the program? So did the client save or pay that rent amount last month? Did you pay your rent? Did you save that amount? If we're paying your full rent, our expectation is you're going to save that amount of money that we told you to pay in rent. You're going to pay yourself instead of paying the landlord. Okay. So did you pay your landlord, or did you pay yourself that amount of money that we expected you to do? Did you actually do the action plan from last month? We have like a calendar. Did you complete a calendar of activities? Are you staying active? Are you doing things that are productive? Did you do a monthly budget? Have you done all the startup documents that we're going to be working through? A bunch of startup documents with you. Your case manager will start working with you on those. And then last of all, we're looking at, remember I said rapid rehousing is a what program? It's a jobs. He got this A+. Thank you so much. Jobs and roommates. So we're going to be saying, are you searching for work? Are you searching for roommates? Because it's a jobs and roommates program. So are you doing the job part? Are you doing the roommate part? And then we're also looking at if there's any longer term housing assistance permanent housing, if there's any permanent housing assistance available, have we taken advantage of that? Okay. Now that, again, guys, that may not be available. I'm not going to say may not, that will not be available for everyone. It won't be. So I don't want you to walk away saying, oh, well, they're going to get me a voucher. Not true. It doesn't happen for the vast majority of our clients. So don't count on it. What you can count on to be successful in this program is rapid rehousing is a jobs and roommates. That's the best path to success. That's what you can count on, all right? And that's why we're going to hold you accountable to that. Here's the deal. Now I'm going to switch away from this and go back to so on the second page, there's like a chart of what I gave you guys. Okay, it looks like that. I'm going to put that up here. So here's what that really means. Go this up on the board. There's two different tracks. Remember what I said, that the clients who are fully participating with the program get rewards. Okay, this is the rewards program. All right, I'm going over that right now. So there's two different tracks. There's someone who's working the program. They're doing the program our way, jobs and roommates. And there's someone who's making different choices. So what we're calling it is structured for success and choices for change. So structured for success means you're following the program structure. jobs, roommates, you're doing your case, you're meeting with your case manager, you're completing your calendaring, you're doing your budgeting, you're doing all the things your case manager is working with you to do. You're working with us to do the best thing that you can do to stay stable. All right, you're working that structure. The second track is choices for change. You're making your own choices. You're like, I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to figure this out. I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. How many people have said that? I'll figure it out. I don't know. I'll figure it out, right? And so they're not doing it our way, they're doing it their way. What our goal is to make sure we're not putting you on the street during the program for making different choices. I'm not saying you have to work the program our way. If you can make it work your way, great. Please make it work. Stay off the streets, stay out of the shelter. That's awesome. Here's the deal though. The people who will do it our way, the people who will work the program structure, get rewards and incentives in order to do that. Here's what that looks like. Okay? So before you move in, both programs are exactly the same. Before you move in, you're going to do a housing needs assessment. You're going to do a housing stability plan to make a good plan to how you're going to be able to stay housed. You're going to get help finding a unit, an app fee, admin fee, prorated rent, security deposit, risk fee, all that stuff. We're paying that. We're taking care of that, making sure there's nothing in your way between you getting out of the shelter and getting into a unit, right? No barriers. All right. So we're doing that. The first full 3 months, we're going to pay all the rent. Because regardless if you're working the program or not, like you need a bit to stabilize. You need a minute to settle in because there's a lot that goes on when you move off the streets and into a home. We knew you needed a little bit of time to kind of get yourself together. You need time to find that job. You need time to get stable and figure out how you're going to actually do this plan that you're doing. You need time to adjust to meeting with your case manager. You need time to meet your neighbors, to meet your landlord. You need time to get settled in, figure out where the resources are around you. You need a little bit of time. So we're going to give you 3 months to do that. 3 months. And then after that, here's when the changes occur. Starting in month 4. If you are on Structured for Success and you're working the program, you're filling out the calendaring, you're doing the budgeting, you're saving your money. So we're going to tell you how much to save every month, and you need to save that. And you're going to show it to us in the bank statement. Yes, I saved it. Okay? You're going to show that to us. If you're doing all of those things, then we will continue to pay your rent in full. Good deal, right? Free rent. Awesome. If you are doing what needs to be done to keep yourself stable. If you're not, then what will happen is you go to track 2, and you'll be paying 40 to 50% of your income every month towards your landlord. Okay? In rent. Which means we're going to limit the amount that we pay, and you're on the hook for the rest. Okay? That's the way that works. And that might cause you to get, if you don't pay it, then you'll get a lease violation or an eviction notice. And that's what will happen. Okay? If you work the program, we'll work with you, money-wise. If you don't work the program, then you're on your own. Does that make sense? We're still there. We're still meeting with you. We're still offering services. We're still doing a plan. We're still supporting you. But you're saying, I want to do it my way. Cool. You do it your way. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. All right. All right. So another thing here. When someone gets up to 100% affordability, if you graduate the program, if you're working the program, you're in track 1, the structured track, then we're going to continue to work with you for 1 full month after you get to affordability. A whole month. So let's say you have enough to pay your own rent in February. What we would do is we'd say, okay, great. Congratulations. You've reached affordability. That's awesome. We're going to go ahead and pay for March. We're going to get March covered and everything. And then you'll start paying your own rent in April. However, if you are on the other track, you're on the My Way track, you're on your own way, you're on the Choices for Change, track 2, you're not working the program fully, then the assistance will end immediately. You get to affordability, got it. You're going to pay your own rent in March. And that's the way that's going to go. Okay? So we end assistance early. Also, recertification. Some of you guys may actually be in your 2nd year of the program. We do that in dire cases. I want you to know when someone gets to the end of the year, they can apply for a recertification. Here's the thing though, that every single person, we're going to look at each person in the eye and say, how is another year of assistance? How's more assistance actually going to help you? Because if your plan was to look for a job, but you spent a whole year not looking and you have not been able to produce any kind of job search, how is more assistance going to help you? What's going to change? That's the question that we always ask. What is going to change what is this new assistance going to change so that you can start looking for a job? What was in the way that is now no longer in the way? Because if you're saying, well, nothing was in the way, I just couldn't get it together and now I'm going to do it. We've not found that to be true. We found that whatever the habit that someone has established in that first year will continue into year 2. So you got to show us what is going to change that's going to get me to be successful in year 2. All right. And then there too, it is not a year of assistance. It is 3 months. And we renew it every 3 months. And also too, notice under track 2, when you're not working the program, what does that big say in big bold letters? Not available. That means if you're working track 2, you don't get a recertification. And if you're in the middle of that recertification period, you're in that second year, and you decide, no, I don't want to do that budget. No, I don't want to save. No, I don't. It gets cut. It's done. It's done. So, okay. So guys, the ones who get the most assistance are the ones who are putting the most into the program. Does that make sense? You put it in, we're going to put it in. You don't put it in, we don't put it in either. We're going to work together on this thing to keep you off the streets and out of the shelter and in housing for the rest of your life. How does that sound to you? Pretty good? Anyone here wants to go back to a shelter anytime in the future? Anybody? Shelter is not a fun place to live. You don't want to live with 250 roommates. If your case manager comes up to you and says, hey, we should consider getting 1 or 2 roommates, I don't want to hear any pushback of, well, I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman, I don't want to live with no roommate. And it's like, well, then you're going to choose to live with 250. Would you rather live with 1 roommate that you pick or 250 that you don't? Okay, right? So here's the deal. Like, that is what we're going to be pushing. That's what we're going to be asking. Don't be surprised when your case manager brings that up to you. Okay, because that is the way to freedom. That is the way to success. And our program is going to be structured that way. Here's what the requirements are. If you're in track 2 and you're doing the program your way, you got to pay your rent on time. You got to be a good neighbor to everyone around you and get out of the program as quickly as you can. That's what our goal is for you. Okay, so everyone still needs to get housed as quickly as possible. For track 1, what we're asking you to do is all of those things, but also weekly calendaring. We're going to be verifying savings, making sure that you're actually saving that amount. You can't just spend that money on whatever. Like, you need to be saving that, budgeting and saving. We need to be looking for employment. And that's not, when we say looking for employment, I'm not talking about you say, yeah, I'm looking for work. That's not it. What we're saying is we're going to enroll you in services with an employment services provider who can say, yes, they are showing up and they are working on searching for work. It has to be verifiable. This is not just taking your word for it. Okay. Track 2 is the taking your word for it program. All right. Track 1 is the we're verifying this and we're making sure this is happening program. All right. And then participating in the search for a roommate. We got to find a roommate. Unless you can afford to live all by yourself, unless you've got enough money to live all by yourself, then we got to be looking for roommates. Now, listen, it's your choice as to who you live with. I'm not going to force you to live with anybody. It's your choice as to who you live with. We're just saying, set yourself up for success to reduce those rental costs and find somebody. If that means participating in roommate matching with us here in Austin Street, we're actually working on getting that set up. Hopefully in the next couple of months we'll be there. But we're going to do that. If that means putting on an ad on Craigslist or in the classifieds or going to the, I don't know, going to the local church and putting up a sign on the bulletin board, I don't know, whatever that means, like participate in a search for a roommate. I'm trying to find somebody that I could live with and I feel like could live with me. All right, trying to figure that out. And then last of all, complete a monthly budget. Now we've got forms and tools and all that stuff for you guys. And so if you don't have it, you're like, I don't know how to budget. We've got a form for you. We can walk that through. We can show you how to do it. Okay. But here's the summary. If you're doing track 1 and you're working the program, you're going to start paying yourself. That's what's going to happen. That rent every month, you're paying you.
Right.
if you're going to work the program your way and do different choices and all that, what you're going to be doing instead of paying yourself, you're paying your landlord. That's what you're going to be doing. So do you want your landlord to get your money or do you want you to get your money? It's up to you. It is up to you. But either way, by the end of the program, you will be used to paying rent. You will know how rent goes. You'll be used to budgeting and to saving and to figuring out this lifestyle of paying the rent eating first and making sure that everything else in your life revolves around staying off the streets and staying housed. Whether you do the pay yourself option, you're going to have a pretty nice little savings account too. A nice little rainy day fund to keep you going as well. If you're in this spot, you can still make it. You can still get out of and be housed. Either way, you can be successful, but we're trying to make sure we're giving you guys, we're meeting you in the middle. That if you put more in, then we're going to put more in. Okay? That is going to be the way the program is going to operate from here on. Now, let's see what time we're at. 10:50. So what my plan was to do next was to do an example of how rent is calculated. So what I want to do, since we have food here and it's getting cold, so what I want to do is I'm gonna finish up, then we'll take a little bit of a break so you guys can eat. If we decide that we want to go ahead and do that example, great. Otherwise, we can stop and take individual questions, and I can do Q&A with our people on the phone as well. So actually, what I'll probably do is to call them any like rumbly tummies. All right. We'll take a break in a minute. You guys here for live can eat. I'll start taking questions from these guys and write down those questions so I can share those. And then just try to use our time really well, because I know we got started kind of funky today. All right, so here's the deal. Hold up. What's going to happen next? Number one, your case manager is going to review and complete new rules for the program with you. You have a copy of those. That's in your packet right now. If you want, you can just sign that right now and just get it done. Yeah, packets back there. At least you can get the gentleman a packet. Thank you. Anyone else don't have a packet? Oh, goodness. I'm sorry, guys. 3 packets, please. All right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So we're gonna get you a packet. So guys who are here live, you have a copy of the rules right here. You can sign those right now and turn that in. You can, the other option is you can sign it at your next case management session. Here's the deal though. If you don't sign, and this is people on the phone as well, if you don't sign the rules, you don't get the full rental assistance. Okay? If you don't sign the rules, you are now opting for track number 2, and you'll start paying your portion of rent in April. Okay? That's what will happen. You can't be on track 1 without signing these rules. All right? So that's there. The next thing that's going to happen is that your case manager over time is going to work with you to complete a housing needs assessment. They're going to work with you to complete all these startup documents and get all these services together and get your goals down. Okay, they're going to work on that with you over the next couple of months or so. There's a lot to work through, and so they're going to be spending some time working through it. And then they're going to determine how often they're going to meet with you based upon all of those things. And so we have another new system kind of behind the scenes that we're figuring out how often to meet with our clients based upon how much they're working the program. All right. And so to be clear, this is going to happen when we're doing your progress reports in March for April's rent. That's when this is taking effect. Okay. So March rent is going to be paid just like rent has been paid every other month thus far. But then April is when it all starts new. Okay. So your March monthly progress report is going to look like the one I showed you today. Okay. And then that's going to go and affect April's rent payment. Now, I want to tell you this one thing too. This is a new system. New systems are always buggy and kind of weird. All right. Change is tough. And so we're going to do our best to make sure we've spent a long time thinking about this and working on this. There may be a couple of bugs in the system. I, for one, trust our case managers to see when there are problems and issues and to bring that to our supervisors. And we're going to get those things worked out and figured out. But those are the rules are what I told you today. The rules of what you're signing today, we're going to stick to those and make sure we're doing the right thing. So last of all, I just want to challenge you and those on the phone. What is your plan? Think about it. What is your plan to stay off the streets and to stay in housing? The reality is, it is your job to end your homelessness. It's our job to support you in that. It's our job to help, but it's your job to make it happen. We can't do it without you. I can't do it for you. I can't. I need your participation. I need you to walk alongside with us to make it to be where places like Austin Street's shelter are in your rearview mirror. What I always say to our clients in the shelter is, I don't want you ever to come back until you're ready to volunteer or donate your first million. All right. Just remember where you came from. You make that money. You remember where you came from. All right. So anyway, so that's what we want you to do. Never return to the streets or shelter again. Increase your income, decrease your expenses, get a job, get a roommate, get both, and succeed in staying off the streets forever. All right, that's what we want to see for you guys. Our hope is that the program is going to really help to make that happen better than ever. Okay. Here's what I want to do real quick. Does anyone have any big burning questions here live that I can answer really quickly? Because I want to get you guys to eating. Yes, sir, in the back. Go ahead. Permanent housing. Definition of permanent housing. When I talk about permanent housing, I'm talking about housing without a time limit. Housing assistance with no time limit. Rapid rehousing has a time limit, so it's not permanent. Okay? That makes that answer good. Cool. Yes, sir.
When you buy a roommate in, earlier or later in the program,
Yes.
does that affect the amount of people that it's contributing from your time?
Oh, great question. Okay, he asked if I get a roommate. Thank you. If you invite a roommate, that was a perfect question. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or marriage. You know, that's what we make too. I have a roommate. I just happen to be married to her. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, if you invite a roommate in, or let's say you can integrate an adult child in your home, you can get married, you can. There's all sorts of things that we can do to try to help. Because our goal in the program. Let me get to your question. Such a good question. Our goal in our program is we want you to be able to do everything on the program that you could do off the program. So I want to provide very little restrictions on who you're able to move in, so long as it is legal, so long as your landlord is aware of it, so long as you're not having an unauthorized occupant. Because the reality is, if you weren't on this program and you were just paying your rent, you could get married and have someone move in. But you couldn't do that without talking to your landlord, or else you're going to get evicted. Like, you could move your girlfriend in, but you can't do that without talking to the landlord, or else you're going to get evicted. So there's processes to go through. So hold on, let me answer your question. So if you bring a roommate in, what's going to happen is what we have to do is we have to put them on what's called a split lease. Okay, so that means unless you are tied by marriage and you have a legal contract between you already as to what's mine is yours, okay? If you don't have that legal contract already, there has to be a split lease. That is legal regulations from the federal government, okay? So you have to get onto a split lease, which what that means is you have a lease and your roommate also has a lease, has a separate lease. So that if they don't pay their rent, they get evicted, but you don't, okay? So we have to work with you to get that going at your apartment complex. So what will happen is, let's say your rent's $1,000, okay? And you're going to be on a split lease with your roommate. Most of the time, you're paying half, they're paying half. And so now you have a split lease where your lease says $500, your roommate's lease says $500. And so what the difference is, when I do your monthly progress report, instead of saying $1,000 is your rent, it's going to say $500 is your rent. And let's say maybe before you were able to pay $600 in rent, and your score was 60% before. Now your score is like 120%, because hey, you figured out how to make your rent go down. Now you're able to graduate the program. Does that make sense? So yes, it does reduce your rent obligation. It does make it to where you have to pay less because they're in the situation of paying as the majority of the rent. But, yeah.
And month two, I'm bringing a roommate.
Yeah.
Or are you married?
Yeah.
Then that person is the roommate.
Yeah.
Theoretically, half the deposit, half the security deposit.
Not if they were moving in. That's a good question. We've never run into that before.
Pay the full $1,000, 2 months.
Good question. That's good. So if you're in the full payment phase, here's the deal. We're going to pay whatever's on the lease. So if you're on a split lease, in your lease now, instead of saying 1,000, it says 500, we're gonna pay 500. Because it's on the lease. I can't pay something different than what's on the documented lease. Okay, so if you bring a roommate in, you have to get a new lease. And we're gonna pay what's on that new lease.
So you could be paying street, half the street deposit, they had to put that.
If you came in, I mean, we don't have a way to split those up. And so, to be honest with you, I have to look at our regulations to see exactly how we would handle that. But in general, I don't think we'd probably split that up. We're probably gonna be splitting up the rent, because that's gonna be split on lease. Now, let's say if your landlord gives you 2 leases, it's a split lease, and on yours, they put half the security deposit, and on theirs, they put half, then yeah, we're gonna pay half. We're gonna pay whatever the landlord tells us to pay. For you. They're on their own. They're not on my program. You're my client, you're on my program. They gotta handle their fees. Yeah, so you could move in on your own, get someone else to come live with you, we split the lease, and we've already taken care of deposit and all that kind of stuff. Now, their application fees, their risk fees, whatever they're getting charged, they gotta take care of. I can't pay. Is it, hopefully that answers it.
It did.
Great question. I love hearing about, what if I brought in a roommate? What do we do? Yes, that's great. Awesome. Other quick burning questions? I saw an arm up over here. I don't know who's in. Oh, sure. Question was, if I bring in a roommate, does that reduce the amount that the program pays? And I said, yes, because it'll be a new lease. Your rent has changed, so we'll pay the new rent, essentially. Yeah. Great. Okay, if you got something that's an individual question, I can handle that afterward individually. Yep, got it. Cool. Great. Okay, guys, I'm not seeing any more hands in here. I hope this has been clear. And my real hope is that the new style of this program is going to be really helpful to helping you guys get off the street and stay off the street forever. Okay, we want to be the best in our system of doing. We want to be the best program that is possible to making that happen. Because I never want to see you having to come and stay off the street ever again or anything like it. Okay, and that's what we really want. Okay, so but thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you for coming. What I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and our live participants here. I'm going to release you to eat and enjoy yourself. Stay after. Let's do individual questions. Like, we're here for you. For those of you on the phone, in just a second, I'm going to take you guys off of mute, and then I'm going to answer your questions. If I get any new questions, guys, from the phone, then I'm going to say, hey, there's a good question. I'm going to tell you the answer. All right. So that way that's there. We have the recording. I'm going to keep the recording going so that'll be available afterward as well if you want to be able to see that. Okay. But thank you all so much for your time today. Alicia, what do we need to do on bus passes? That sounds good. Okay. So we'll provide that to you guys. So food and a bus pass. Hopefully that made it worth your time as well as the great information today. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Let's go in homelessness. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Get your food. We're going to stay and work with you. All right. Thank you. All right. Phone. Here we go. Hold on, guys, on the line. Let me pull you off of here. All right. Hello, everybody on the phone. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm here to answer y'all's questions right now. I'm sitting here at the recording too, so we can make sure that information is available to everyone afterward. But any questions from you guys? Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Anyone else with any questions? Great. Say that again, please. I'm trying to figure out where we're going to post it. We actually just made the decision to record it this morning, so I'm not sure where we're going to post it. We may do it on YouTube. We may do it on our website. We're going to try to find a place to post that, and we'll let you guys know pretty soon as to where we're going to put that. Great question. Yeah, through case manager. That's right. That's right. Okay, great. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Take care, and we look forward to working with you to end your homelessness forever. Thank you so much. All right. You got it, man. It's our pleasure. Our pleasure. You guys have a great day, okay? Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Right. No new questions. Thank you.